trigger warning, the following episode contains references to harassment, stalking, and physical violence. Listen with care.
Dispatch, can I help you?
In August 2009, an anonymous man called the Skagit County Sheriff's Office 911 hotline.
There's a crime that's going to take place in the morning.
It involved a dangerous drug dealer.
There's going to be a van transporting some drugs from the Anacortes area to I-5 and then to Seattle.
The dispatcher then asked the caller for the person's name.
And do you know the name?
His last name is Stover, S-T-O-V-E-R.
Stover, as in Mark Stover, the dog trainer to the Stars who had moved to Anacortes, Washington.
Okay, and is somebody there with you, or why are you whispering?
Yeah, it's something that's very delicate. I'd have to not be found out about this. He's very dangerous. He perpetually carries a gun.
It's a little tough to hear, but he's warning them that Mark carries a gun. He said, "This is very dangerous."
I wish you guys would do something before it kills somebody.
He says, "I wish you guys would do something before he kills somebody."
Alrighty, well, I've got the call in, and we'll pass it along to the deputies for you.
Thank you.
The following day, Mark Stover was pulled over by sheriff's deputies.
He was asked if they could search his car. He refused.
This is Lee Herron. She's a private investigator Mark hired after the incident. Lee said when Mark refused to cooperate, the officers wouldn't let him leave.
A search warrant was obtained, a canine was brought to the scene, and there was a positive hit.
The dog detected some drugs.
The police found a small metallic box on the undercarriage of Mark's vehicle, which contained a couple of marijuana cigarettes and some very low-grade cocaine.
Mark told the deputies the box had been planted. They let him go, but from then on, Mark watched his back.
It was such a deliberate act. It said, "We're setting you up. We want you to go to jail." I think Mark had a very real fear of what Linda was capable of doing to him.
I'm Peter Van Sant. From 48 Hours, this is Trained to Kill: The Dog Trainer, the Heiress, and the Bodyguard. Episode 3, Secret Meetings. At the time Mark Stover was pulled over by police, Linda Opdycke said she had moved on from her ex-husband.
I just wanted to go on with my life with Michael, and I wanted Mark to go on with his life.
Michael was Michiel Oakes, a security expert. We spoke back in 2010.
I remember at that time thinking, this can't be real, because no woman alone could go through this amount of harassment.
Michael said they met at a Starbucks and quickly connected over their love of books. By the fall of 2008, Michael said their business relationship turned romantic.
I said to her, I think we have a connection that could go beyond friendship, and is that something that you're open to? And I think she, as you may know, she's almost 6 feet tall, and I'm 5'6". She's never had children. I have 4 children. So it was an unlikely romance. But she said, I have gone through a lot of things in my life, and I'm open to considering that.
Linda was impressed by how dedicated Michael was to his family. After getting a divorce from his first wife, Michael took full custody of their kids. He even treated the kids of his second wife as his own.
Everything he did took into account of his children. He worked at home so he could be there for them. He was a full-time single parent. He drove them to school every morning. He made sure he had Friday night movies time with them or game evenings. The family was a priority to him.
Michael described himself as a self-taught security specialist skilled in firearms.
I ended up training with a lot of the alphabet soup of government agencies and SWAT teams and so on. And it's what we call force-on-force training. I owned a small company in in Seattle here. And I managed to get some training equipment and figure out how to use it.
People have said that you are a gun enthusiast. Is that true?
Yes, I am a gun enthusiast. I've taught all my kids from the earliest age that I felt they were safe, gun safety. And I have shot competitively for some years.
You've been described as Linda Opdycke's bodyguard as well as boyfriend.
Right.
Is that accurate?
I don't believe it's accurate. Let's put it that way. She never paid me to be a bodyguard. I did a little bit of research and I did an analysis of sort of her home security situation and what the steps she was taking. Looked into the people that she was working with and made some suggestions on that front. And that was the extent of what I would consider my professional interaction with her.
And did she pay you for that consulting?
You know, she paid me, she wrote me a check, but it was just for my expenses. And it was a minimal amount of money. I don't even remember now what it was, but less than $1,000. So, I mean, it was minimal.
Michael said that by the spring of 2009, he and his kids started spending a lot of time at Linda's house in Winthrop, which was more than 200 miles north from Michael's place in Kennewick, Washington.
It's a beautiful love. It's, in my opinion, it's legendary. It's something that you read about in romance novels or movies.
Their relationship deepened. What seemed to make it even better was that Linda said she hadn't heard from Mark since he had been arrested for stalking and theft.
I was believing and hoping that that had enough impact and he recognized that this behavior was unacceptable and that he would be moving on with his life. And we went for many months where nothing happened.
To her, the nightmare finally felt over.
I really started feeling more at peace in my life and more at ease and really felt that he was moving on and I was able to move on into a new relationship with nothing from the past hampering that.
But according to Michael, the past roared back into the present when Mark Stover unexpectedly re-entered their lives.
Mark Stover sought me out one day, out of the blue, and told me that I would do what he wanted. And from that point for almost 6 months, I lived in constant fear.
Michael said that Mark hadn't stopped stalking, he just found a new target.
The Mark Stover you got to know, was he a frightening man?
Very,
Intimidating?
very much so.
Threatening?
Constantly with me.
Michael Oakes said the first time he encountered Mark Stover was a real shock. It was around Memorial Day 2009. Michael and Linda had been in a romantic relationship for about 9 months.
I think it was a weekday morning. I had just dropped my kids off at school.
Michael said he then made a stop at Costco.
And went in the store. When I came out, he was standing by my car. And because I had done research for Linda Opdycke some months previously, I'd seen a picture of him. I immediately recognized him.
Mark Stover is standing next to your car.
Next to my car in the
in
parking lot.
Kennewick, Washington, which is on the other side of the mountains from where we are now.
Yes.
The drive from Mark's home in Anacortes to this Costco in Kennewick, Washington, would have taken about 5 hours. Yet there he was, according to Michael, menacingly standing by Michael's car.
He's very icy, actually. He said that he had been listening to our calls and he knew all about me. And he knew that I was in a relationship with Linda. He said his wife. He didn't say his ex-wife. He said his wife. And he said that there was something of his that she wouldn't give back and that I was going to get it for him.
Michael couldn't remember if he said anything to Mark or if he just gave him a confused look as he waited to hear Mark's demand.
He said that Miss Opdycke would not give back their wedding photo albums. And he said I was going to get them back for him. And then he went on to describe what my daughters were wearing that morning.
What they'd worn to school.
And there's no way he could have seen.
And what did you realize at that moment?
He had been following us a whole time. And he said that he told me all the details of what they're wearing, their backpack colors, everything.
Michael said that Mark told him to bring the wedding photos to the Northgate Mall in Seattle on July 14th, 2009. He said he agreed.
Why didn't you at that moment simply look him in the eye and say, Mark Stover or whoever you are, get away from me. I don't ever want to speak to you again. If you get anywhere near my children, I'll call the police.
I'm not a confrontational person at all. That's not my mode. I felt very much off balance in that meeting. And I think it's one of those things where once I'm driving away, thinking I should have said this or I should have done that, there was something about him that was chilling to me. And I kept trying to talk myself out of it. It can't be real. It can't be real. He has to be fooling.
Michael said at first he was going to call the police, but then decided against it, worried about getting Linda involved. Did Michael tell you that Mark Stover approached him and demanded wedding photos?
No.
Why wouldn't he share this vitally important information with you?
My guess in knowing Michael is he really did not want to stress me out more.
Michael said that when July 14th rolled around, he went to meet Mark at the Nordstrom store at the Northgate Mall, just as he said Mark demanded. Michael said that since he didn't tell Linda about this meeting, he arrived empty-handed, no wedding photos. Michael said Mark got angry and scolded him.
What was his obsession with these wedding photos?
Well, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. It enraged him, I believe, in retrospect, that she chose not to continue the marriage with Mark Stover, to continue to do what he wanted, and yet she retained something that he felt was part of him.
A couple of weeks later, Michael suggested to Linda that they leave and go on a trip out to Whitefish, Montana. That's where Linda's father, Wally Opdycke, had a house.
We were going to stay there and stayed at their vacation home.
En route to Whitefish, Michael remembered making a stop so Linda could take her dog for some exercise and he could pick up some snacks. But Michael said when he got in line to check out, he spotted a familiar face standing near the front door.
And I'm in line minding my own business and look across the way and I see Mr. Stover standing by the entrance to the store staring at me.
And what was that moment like for you?
Very similar to the first time that I saw him. It's just a shock of recognition in a place you don't expect to see somebody.
Michael, why didn't you just say to him, you get away from me. If you get anywhere near me and Linda again, I'm calling the cops.
There's at least two reasons. One of them is I do know enough about protection to know that there's no way for me to, this is why the president has so many people that protects him from potential threats. One man cannot protect three children 24/7. And for any time that I could enrage or outrage Stover, it was putting a gun to the head of my children, in my opinion.
You felt if you confronted Mark Stover, you'd be putting yourself in more danger instead of dealing with the threat that he posed to you?
Absolutely, and I'm certainly not the first person to feel that way.
By now, Michael said Mark's uncanny ability to find him and Linda wherever they went made him realize Mark posed a real danger to his family.
Mark Stover was remarkably sophisticated in some ways. He had managed to penetrate Linda's computer prior to meeting me. He managed to tap a phone. Finding us in Montana was impossible, and I took tremendous steps not to be followed, and yet there he was. How did he find us?
By late September of 2009, Michael said that Mark demanded that they set up another meeting after he and Linda were back from Montana.
He was getting progressively less patient with me.
this time at a church in Anacortes. By now, Michael decided to wear his Kevlar vest to the meetings. He said that he drove west across the state to the church parking lot not far from Mark's house and waited. Still unable to find the wedding photos, Michael said he brought 2 pictures of Linda with her horse, so Mark would have something to look at. But Michael said he didn't show up, and Michael felt helpless.
And the thought of just at any given one of these meetings that we had, just telling him, I'm done, take a hike, and don't come looking for me, And every time, the reality of knowing that there's no way I can keep my kids, myself, and Ms. Opdycke safe if he decides he's going to go for it, pulled me back from that brink.
But were all these stories Michael was telling me true? Some people who knew Michael well said he had a darker side to his personality, a potentially violent side.
During the course of our marriage, he told me that he was capable of killing without remorse. Michael Oakes had a dual personality. He was a family man by day and tried to live up this action hero persona in the background.
That's Jennifer Thompson. She knows Michael Oakes as well as anyone. Jennifer was his second wife. I talked to her in 2010.
We eloped. It wasn't a wedding.
She said they were married when Michael first met Linda. Jennifer said that she loved him, but that Michael had an insecure side. Is he a tough guy?
Well, no.
An action hero kind of guy?
No, he thinks he is.
How do you mean?
He wanted to be. He idealized that. He read about it. He aspired to be that.
According to Jennifer, Michael thought part of being tough meant being armed.
Michael Oakes was very infatuated with guns, weapons, and I think they made him feel powerful, strong, capable.
There was one book Jennifer said Michael referenced a lot.
It's called On Killing, and it's a book about the psychology of killing.
The book examines how people learn to kill in war. Jennifer said that Michael zeroed in on a part that described how one small sliver of the population could be vicious.
Michael Oakes told me that he was in the small percentage of people who could kill without remorse.
She said that over time, Michael's fascination with killing and his tough guy persona rotted out their marriage.
Michael had a really strong sense of righteousness, and he believed that bad people should be taken out so that the good people can not be harmed. The problem is he decided who was bad and who wasn't, and he felt that he had the right to just take a bad man out. And we would argue about that. We argued about that for years. Right and wrong, can you kill, can you not kill? And it was a point of contention in our marriage.
Jennifer told me that the final straw came when verbal tensions between them turned physically abusive.
I remember his hand coming up and slapping me across the face, and I remember it very clearly. And I was expecting, after feeling it, I was expecting the, oh my God, I'm sorry, oh my God. And he didn't. He said, get the out of my house. And he chased me down the stairs. And I could feel his breath on my neck and his body behind me. It was horrible. It was horrible because I trusted him. I trusted him, and he had been angry before. He had shown aggression before, but never at me.
Michael told us no one should believe Jennifer's allegations against him. In July of 2008, a year after they tied the knot, Jennifer left with her 2 biological kids.
And I went to my mom's, and I spent 2 weeks, just took my kids to Disneyland, went to the beach, just got away from it. And then decided that I needed to get an apartment somewhere because I couldn't go back to the house.
On August 15th, he said, "If you can't give me a date that you're coming back, we're done." And so he told me he wanted a divorce.
Soon after, Michiel Oakes and Linda Opdycke set up their first in-person meeting.
I think he's a very insecure man, and I think that he musters up confidence really well. He's an excellent salesman. He's an excellent presenter of images.
As the fall of 2008 began, Jennifer faded from his life, as Michael, the action hero wannabe, now had a new woman in his sights. And as Michael's relationship with Linda grew deeper, he said Linda's ex-husband, Mark, became obsessed, constantly calling him on the phone, asking for meetings. By October 2009,
it's become very, very clear to me that in my mistaken belief that I could appease or satisfy Mark Stover, I did become yet another person who was doing exactly what Mark Stover wanted.
he had reached a fateful breaking point.
I kept thinking, if I can just, this is the one thing he wants that Linda Opdycke won't give him, and if she just gives him what he wants, he'll leave us alone.
Michael said the two men finally agreed to meet again on October 24, 2009, at that same church in Anacortes. There is surveillance video from Linda's house showing Michael packing up his car to head out that day.
It appeared that he was taking off for a fairly serious journey.
That's Lee Heron again, Mark's former private investigator. She examined the video herself.
He was loading a number of items into his car, including a rifle bag.
As Michael is packing, you can see Linda come out onto their deck. They touch hands, and then Linda wraps her arms around Michael. They share a long, heartfelt embrace, the kind that suggested to me that something important lay ahead, something serious. Here's Lee again.
The long, passionate embrace that was captured on Linda's surveillance cameras indicates that Michael Oakes thought of himself as a prince who was out to slay the dragon, his perceived dragon, for the damsel in distress. And his perceived dragon was Mark Stover.
Michael and Linda kissed, and he drove away. Hours later, Michael claimed he came face to face with Mark Stover in that church parking lot.
He was extremely agitated, not cold and calculating, not controlled like that first meeting. He was erratic.
Michael said Stover once again demanded those wedding pictures.
So did you give him those photo albums that he wanted?
I never found them.
Late that night, Michael is seen returning to Linda's home. But is it possible this entire story was all a ruse for a failed murder attempt? Because 4 days later, at 2:30 a.m. on October 28th, Michael is again seen on surveillance video driving away from Linda's house. This time, Michael said the two men would meet in private at Mark Stover's house in Anacortes. Michael claimed that Mark had told him this was his last chance to turn over those damn wedding pictures.
It was put up or shut up time.
But what really happened when they met remains a mystery. Only those who saw the bloody aftermath can express what they felt.
I can only describe it as evil. Something horrible, something terrible.
From 48 Hours, this is Train to Kill, The Dog Trainer, The Heiress, and The Bodyguard, produced by Sony Music Entertainment. I'm your host, Peter Van Sant. Judy Tigard is the executive producer of 48 Hours. Original reporting by 48 Hours producers Ryan Smith and Liza Finley. Jamie Benson is the senior producer for Paramount Audio, and Maura Waltz is the senior story editor. Recording assistance from Alan Pang and Reginald Bazile. Special thanks to Paramount Podcast Vice President Megan Marcus. It is written and produced by Alex Schumann. Stephanie Serrano is our editor. Our executive producer is Shira Morris. Our associate producer is Zoe Culkin. Theme and original music composed by Hansdale Shee. Cedric Wilson is our sound designer and mixed the episodes. We also use music from APM and Epidemic Sounds. Fendel Fulton is our fact checker. Our production manager is Tamika Balance-Kolasny. I'm Peter Van Sant. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to rate and review. It helps more people find it and hear our reporting. You can listen to Train to Kill early and ad-free right now by subscribing to 48 Hours Plus on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.